I'm doing something I don't normally like to do, and that's recording a video on the same day as it going live. I much prefer to, separate the days, but I didn't know today where my energy levels would be. And some days I'm waking up at the moment, where I've got all the energy in the world and I can do stuff. Some days I'm not sure, and some days I'm like, no, absolutely, I've got no energy, and then I end up doing like 3 or 4 things in the afternoon. So I thought it best to keep the afternoon free, because I'm probably in that sort of middle territory where I might do stuff later. Because there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment. As it says on the thumbnail, yes, I want to talk about babies today, there's uni stuff, and of course I want to talk about the BAFTA situation, not necessarily because I directly can comment on so much, but I've seen interesting commentary about it that I think I just want to share, and sort of talk about my interpretation of the situation, and we'll get there anyway. So first things first, let's talk about baby prep. So I've become the Monica Flatpack. I made a little unit with like a filing cabinet bit, and I've got like the sleeves for that came yesterday from Amazon as well. As part of like just the organisation of the downstairs room, we've got sort of the pram in there now and things like that. A lot of stuff ready. I am going to have to make up some more Flatpack stuff, but that's going to go in the bathroom, which we're going to have new vinyl put in at some point soon. So we need to put that flooring down. I'm not putting everything in there, making stuff, and then having to take it out again. I've not even brought the stuff up. There's no point putting that effort in. So at the moment, my Flatpack journey is on hold, and we're going to get more of the other kind of stuff prepped, like just making space by the bed for the next to be crib that will be used for the first sort of 6 months, thereabouts, maybe a bit longer. They normally say at least 6 months with you these days. And we're looking into, we've got a sort of whole system where you've got like a flat bit and a more chairy bit for like the pushchair. But one of those, because it's like meant for newborns and small babies, we can sort of perhaps use that as a Moses basket as long as we can find a stand. So we might have to make extra expenditures in that regard, but it's fine. We've got baby baths, all that kind of stuff. We've got a lot of stuff prepped. Maternal grandparents have been particularly useful. My side, it's not as easy on my side, let's put it that way. So it's totally fine. All help has been greatly appreciated and received. But yeah, so we are making progress. Like, will we be 100% ready on the day? The only answer to that is anyone, really? So we're as ready as we are, and we'll get more ready up until the point that it's actually here. I say it sounds awful, but you know what I mean. The baby. We don't know what we're having, so we can't say he, she. It's them for now. The non-binary baby. But yeah, all of that is happening, and it's fine. Like I say, we're doing what we can. We've got great support. That's all we need. The second thing with uni, it's the downside of the population that I've chosen, but it is a population I'm part of, so I'm totally understanding of this. People with chronic conditions, especially around energy maintenance, if you will, and levels, it's always hard. I know that 90% of the time I don't concretely agree to something in case I don't feel up to it on the day. Some people, have the best of intent and are like, yep, I'll do it, and then the day comes where they either don't have the energy, not even to pick up their phone. I mean, if they have migraines and fibro exacerbates that, I totally appreciate, don't pick up your phone, don't strain your eyes, don't hurt yourself on my account. Just tell me when you're well. Anytime I've had people not turn up, I've sent a, hi, I'm waiting for you, first of all, like quite, not cold, but certainly not like super soft. But I've then, if they still haven't turned up, sent another one going, okay, I just want to make sure you're okay. I'm going to wait until this time. And then if that time rolls around, I'm like, again, hope everything's okay. Just let me know if you want to reschedule. I have to be kind, because I'm like, how would I want to be treated if I was in this situation where I'd agreed to something and then I really can't on that day? I would want compassion. So I should give that. And I'm fine with that. It's again part of dealing with this population. If I only have 2 at the end of it, I only have 2. I can't do much more than that. My supervisor is totally fine with that. She knows the efforts that I've gone through, all the things I've done. I've gone on Facebook groups, I've done social media posts, I've asked people I know. I even actually made some posters with tear-offs, because that's a dying breed. A lot of people these days will have like the poster design, and they'll have a QR code in one of the corners, and that's it. So either you walk past and you scan it and just forget to hit the link, or you don't even do it. It's just like, I'll do it later, because It's just a thing, it's there. If you have a tear-off, and I mean, you can use psychological principles here, you are anchoring. You have done something, you're an active participant. In level 4, I think it was, when I did the presentation, where I asked people to blow on the screen, I'm making people a part of it. So that's the same concept here. I'm making you an active part even before the email has come to me saying, oh yeah, I'm free on these dates, what have you got available? So I've done everything I can, and also now I own a perforating, like a rollerblade thing, and I own a straight ruler, which probably everyone should have somewhere, but also one of those self-healing mats that I've had to cut it on. So if I want to get into paper crafts, I've got tools. It's fine. It's not a waste. And like I say, I can evidence that I've done so much to try and get participants, and it's one of the things I can put in future directions. If I'd have had more time or the ability to provide incentives, that might have helped. So it's all good. It's not like just having these 2 participants is the death of my entire project. In fact, I spoke to someone, and I've found some research myself, where the guideline of like a minimum of 3 is a guideline. The person who made this, or one of the people behind this entire method of analysis, has kind of said, if you've got 1, technically I suppose it's just a case study then, but you're still applying that method of analysis. So even if it's just 1, if it's done right using the proper principles, that's fine. Because the beauty of qualitative research is that every participant's story is a valid part of the data. It doesn't matter if you get 4 people, 12 people, 1 person. If you do the analysis right and can still come out with something on the report, that's good enough. And bear in mind, even if I just barely pass that project and barely pass the other sort of core module that's running at the time as well, I will still get a 2-2, which is the minimum for postgrad. I won't necessarily be happy with it, but it is the bare minimum I need. And literally just passing these 2 modules will get me that. So I am not worried at all. It'll be fine. I will get there. I will get over the line. It's all we can ask for. But maybe the second half, maybe a bit more of this video, will be the BAFTAs. And if you don't want to hear all about that, if you already know enough and you've got an impression, whatever it may be, it's fine. Or if it's too upsetting, if you are affected in either way, should we say, then that's fine. Don't feel like you have to watch further. But the BAFTAs is one of those situations. So for those who might just need a very quick reminder, the BAFTAs happened, I don't even know what the award was actually, but there was one being presented by Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan, who are both black men. At the same time, there was a man sat in the room called John Davidson, who actually I've seen a bit of a documentary about his life years ago called John's Not Mad. Because John has Tourette syndrome. And he was sat back because he was there. There's a film called I Swear about his life. He was there related to that. He's just as valid as anyone else in the room. However, knowing that he has Tourette's, they did try and move him far enough from the stage that it hopefully wouldn't be a problem. However, I don't know, I shouted out, because that makes it sound like he was trying, but he ticked, and unfortunately the tick was the N-word. In their credit, Delroy and Michael both kind of had a little moment of, oh, okay, but they powered through, they carried on, which I think is the right thing they should have done. I don't think they should have called a halt to proceedings and gone, what the hell's going on here? I think powering through, making sure the award was presented was the best solution. Did they know that John was in the room? I can't say that I've seen anything that confirms or denies. But if no one prepped them for that, maybe that's a failing of the BAFTAs. One of the failings of the BBC, however, is that they then made Alan Cumming do an apology, which is fine, that's fine, I totally understand that, but only about the word, not an explanation of why. It shouldn't have been, I'm sorry that, if this offended you, we're very sorry for that. It shouldn't have just been that. It should have been, but it was because of this. There should have been an explanation to make people understand that this isn't some awful person. It's a person who has a neurological condition. Now, as I said at the start, I don't technically have a horse in either race in this situation. That race was not a pun, by the way. I just realised when I said it. But I don't have any ties directly to either side of this. But there is one person who does. And that's who I've used as a lot of my, I don't know, to sort of formulate how I feel about this, I suppose. So if you're as chronically online as I am, you may be aware of the streamer Sweet Anita, who herself once presented an award and has Tourette's. Now, of course, she was presenting an award and the stress of that is higher, so her tics were poorly managed at times. But when she wasn't on stage, she was in the back room, it was like, it was not going to cause a problem. No matter what tic she did, it shouldn't be a problem for anyone in that room. However, John was there because of a film relating to him, so he was right in front. So it's a different situation. However, one of the problems with stuff like Tourette's is sometimes the more you think about, oh, I really hope I don't tic, it causes you to do it. It's almost like a weird form of PDA in the brain. And with a lot of people as well, if they try and repress the tic, it makes it much more impactful when it does eventually come out. It's like shaking up a can or something like that. If you keep shaking, that's really going to blow. If you just give it a light shake, it might fizz up a bit. It's that kind of difference. But like I say, she has Tourette's and knows how hard it can be under the limelight. Something I didn't know is she also has I believe, Jamaican heritage, if I recall correctly. So she understands the power of the N-word through that. It's quite weird because I never would have guessed it looking at her, let's be honest. It's the same as Stephen Graham. He's half Jamaican, and someone I know personally has that as well. So these three people, as much as I don't like using the term that I know of, I would consider like white passing. If they don't tell you, if you don't find it out somehow, you wouldn't necessarily know just by looking. But the fact of the matter is, Sweet Anita, now I know, literally has a point to say from both sides of this issue. And she has said that yes, that word holds power, absolutely. But John was not in control of saying that word. There is a difference between stuff like intrusive thoughts. Like we've all, I think it's often called the call of the void. Like you stand on, a high building or something like that. You're not going to walk off the edge, but you have that thing in your brain like, what if I did? Would it hurt when I hit the bottom? All these things, those are kind of intrusive thoughts. Or like someone hands you a baby and you're like, what if I threw it? These are intrusive thoughts. They are thoughts you're having, you're aware you're having them, and you can go, but I'm not going to do that. Tourette's works in a very different way. It's impulse control at the most severe end of the spectrum, because various conditions have levels of impulse control deficits. But Tourette's is literally, some people don't even have the thought. They don't even know what's going to happen. It comes out of their mouth and like, whoa. Or they do something like, whoa, where did that come from? And we all have subconscious things that happen, of course, but it's more pronounced in stuff like Tourette's. There are literally some people, I believe John is like this. John did not know until that word came out of his mouth that that was going to be said. It is not like he chose. It's not like he had any control over that situation. Was he mortified? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that he could have not done it. One of the issues that's come out is, and there's two main ones that I want to talk about. The BAFTAs, not the BAFTAs, sorry, SNL, decided they would punch down. And if you're not familiar what punching down is in comedy, it's basically, I have certain conditions, but I'm not permanently in a wheelchair. So if I was joking about permanent wheelchair users, that's punching down. That's not something that anyone should do in comedy at all. Punch sideways. I can, like I said at the start of this video, people with Firebug, with Loki, I can make jokes about that, but I cannot talk about cerebral palsy. Or I can talk about it, but I can't joke about it. That's laughing at, not laughing with. Very different. And that is also different for people like Aaron Belial, who does have cerebral palsy, I believe, if I recall, and uses a phone because he can't speak very well, so he uses a phone to do the jokes. You've probably seen him around, and one of his arms kind of is sort of bent. It's just, that's who he is. He can make as many jokes as he likes about that. I can't. But if he makes a joke, I can laugh with him. That's where this all plays. Because otherwise it's just bullying, let's be honest. And we're told from kids, even though many people don't listen to it, bullying is bad. And if you need to be told this as an adult, you're the problem. So SNL decided to do a thing where they'd have, and I use the term loosely here, comedians portraying people like Mel Gibson saying my anti-Semitism was Tourette's, J.K. Rowling saying the transphobia is Tourette's, Bill Cosby saying everything he did was Tourette's. Not only now are you making light of, well, let's be honest, you're making light of what happened to Delroy Michael as well. You're saying that their pain is something to be laughed at too, their discomfort in that situation. You're laughing at John, who again had no control over the situation. And now, and this is I think more prevalent in things like the Bill Cosby one, you're making light of all of the victims' suffering too. That is not good. I mean, SNL to me has been on a steady, I say steady, very fast decline in some places for a while now. The more I see of these SNL skits, a lot of them I'm just like, that is not funny. It's not even trying to be funny anymore. It's just mean-spirited. And that's what this is. And some of those comedians in this, like, I generally have liked in other places, and I don't understand why they agreed to do this. I don't know what, I don't know what SNL has on them, because I did not imagine some of those people would have stooped so low. It's very upsetting, to be honest. And as much as, Alan Cummings has come out and gone, do you know what? I feel bad because I should have said it's because of John's situation. I feel bad for that. Like, moment one, Alan Cummings was like, no, what the BBC said was only half the story. It should have been more, and I'm sorry for my part in that. Brilliant. Has SNL apologised? As of me recording this, I haven't seen anything. And to me, what they did was 10, 12 million times worse, whatever. But the other thing that annoys me is the only reason I know this guy's name is because it's the TV version of The Incredible Hulk, because for some reason they decided Bruce wasn't right. Maybe it was the rights thing, I can't recall. But David Banner, who I wasn't aware of before this, and I'm going to forget as soon as this is all blown over. But there was an interview or something I saw with him, and it sounded at the start like he was being sympathetic. It was like, oh yeah, not great, blah, blah, blah. Then he said, if I was in that room, I would have put hands on that white boy. I believe that's pretty much the phrasing he used. Now, okay, again, emotional response, emotional reaction to this is like, he used the N-word, that's bad. But you are, supposedly a man who thinks he's so hard, but outside of that, you are a man in the public eye, for one, apparently, even though, again, I don't know who you are, who is talking about putting hands on a disabled man. Let's make this even better, or worse, depending on which way you look at it. You're putting your hands on a disabled activist, a charity worker, who furthers the cause of, surprise, surprise, Tourette's awareness, and things like that. And let's go even one stage further. You, in your Hollywood finery, are threatening a disabled charity worker / activist, working class man. This is not a good look. This is absolutely not a good look. And I'm phrasing this in the best way possible because I don't want it to sound or be misconstrued, but when a black man who that comes with a lot of stereotypes and things that he has to live with and has to work around and show people that stereotypes are exactly that. They're not like everyone is exactly the same of a particular skin color or whatever. When he, in his position of sometimes feeling like he's, and quite rightly he is a minority, is attacking another minority, we, like people who have things that other us from, if you will, the stereotypical, majority, we should all be sticking together. The disabled people, the queers, I can say that. I tick multiple boxes, I can use the Q word. And people of different races. We should all be in solidarity against the things that oppress us. But this is creating more division instead of that unity. I will, because I don't like to end on negatives, and, as much as it would be valid in this case, because I think trying to soften it almost undoes it in some ways, but I think I've said my piece. John was treated terribly by the people who shouldn't have treated him terribly. No one should be treating John like this, because it is not a choice. Saying you're going to So, threatening a man is a choice. A neurological disorder is not a choice. But I wanted to end on something slightly lighter. Unfortunately, in my ire, I've forgotten what that is. So, I will simply say, if you think that John Davidson is an awful person for doing this, you've got the wrong impression. If you think David Banner is justified in threatening this man, you've got the wrong impression. Try to look at the whole picture, not a biased view. That's why I went to someone who can talk for both sides. So, okay, yeah, this is what I'll end on. So, all the BAFTA stuff, terrible, but remember, I'm furthering my degree and a baby's on the way soon, and next month's thing will absolutely be a video. Knowing what I'm like now, it's going to be a video. So, I've got a few fun things in the pipeline. There's a couple of games, because I've not done games much for a while. So, there's a few games in there, and one or two film series that I want to sort of get through. But I hope you join me for everything coming down the line. Again, I know I went on a bit of a rant there, but I think it needed saying. So thank you very much for watching, as always, and until next time, take care, and really, please be kind to each other.